This is the Investor Connect podcast program. This is Hall T. Martin. I'm the host of the show, in which we interview angel investors, venture capital, private equity, family offices, and many other investor groups for startups and growth companies. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Thank you for joining us. Well, hello, this is Hall Martin with Investor Connect. Today I'm here with Malkiat, Judge, CEO and founder of Roots Funding. Roots Funding is an online platform offering crowdfunding with value-added services on private equity and private lending opportunities via rootsfundme.com. Malkiat, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Hall. Hello, everyone. My name is Malkiat, Judge, and I'm from Toronto, Canada.
Great. So tell us more about your background. What did you do before this?
Well, it's interesting, John Paul. I graduated in computer science technology and did some Microsoft MCPs and Microsoft certifications and A+ and several basic computer engineering courses. I did not know that I was going to work in finance sector. So while I was working in IT sector, I started learning about financial products, started trading some money, and then completed several financial certifications, and as it was required by financial regulators here in Canada for various roles I was applying. So after 20 years, now I'm at a senior level here at RBC, where we also help high net worth clients and corporations managing, their assets while providing the wealth advice and financial services such as tax planning, estate planning, business succession, or business ownership planning. So, for the last 2 years almost, I'm focused on building what I have learned in the last 20 years in the industry in terms of technology as well as finance, as I have learned the regulators required us to follow certain steps to protect the investors while helping and contributing towards our economy. And I'm now out in the field to support our innovation sector and bringing a new fintech.
Great. Well, tell us more about running an online platform, offering a crowdfunding solution in today's market. What's that like?
As I started learning more about a crowdfunding sector about 2 years ago, it is a great concept, whoever started it. And this concept, it is start and help startups and boost our startup ecosystem. Since there are quite a few well-known crowdfunding platforms in US, but there's so much more need to craft some rules, I guess, and make it easier for both sides, investors as well as issuers, businesses, those need money. And it is not necessary to bring another platform with, similar services and products being already offered unless there is a unique value and added benefit. So we thought of adding some flavor, and given that I have experience of 20 years working with major banks, I thought of adding similar services and values and adding those in the private market, which is huge. I mean, it's in billions of dollars, as we already know that it's growing every year, and it's helping our startup ecosystem. So we are bringing something unique to the table.
Great. Well, tell us more about rootsfundme.com and the specific services it provides for private equity and private lending.
In addition to the private equity and private lending offerings, Roots Funding is also offering services which are beneficial for both sides of customers, like issuers and investors. And of course, for the industry as well, because we plan to connect the whole financial industry, talking about the crowdfunding companies, VCs, angel investors, hedge funds, banks. So it's a global financial ecosystem that we are building. It's a quite complicated tech platform that we are building. We are done halfway, and there are more segments to be added as we collect data. With the help of today's AI technology and blockchain, we can, predict the performance of companies as long as we have the data to support it. I mean, also bringing other services such as any innovation happen anywhere in the world, they can share their idea on our platform, on a global platform for free. I mean, rather than paying any evaluation fee or so. So the section called Invent Me are also offering global footprint. So there's no such company right now on the planet right now, which is available, let's say, here in North America or Europe, Asia as well, or Middle East. So we're working towards on a really big mission. I mean, almost half of the world is covered, I would say, hopefully by the end of this month. But then Asia and Middle East to be taken care of towards the end of the year. I will say adding more services where investors will appreciate the detailed transparency, I will say, where they feel comfortable investing in companies, and also similar services where companies could host their data for more reliability, and they could win investors' trust until they grow big and let's say go from startup to an IPO, so they could host their services along with us and providing performance tracking, building a custom or AI generated portfolio for investors, providing trading platform in private equity space. These are the services that we tend to bring through our rootsfundme.com. And I mean, there's a lot happening in the background. So not to mention SVP products, that not only that customers can build their own portfolios in coming months, but they will be also able to buy a basket of private equity or a mixed basket of private equity and debt portfolios, depending on whether they're looking for growth or income and growth mix, or just strictly income.
So what's the challenge in starting a business here like this? What have you found to be the biggest issue?
The biggest issue, I would say, is finding the right people to lead with you. I mean, that's my learning. And as I go travel around the world and connect with people, and it's not hard to find people, but it's hard to find the people who you can trust and they are at the same mindset, same level, and they're willing to put the same effort, who can take the ownership, and you can rely on these people, and they're focused on contributing equally by fulfilling their own assigned duties, and that will lead to the same goal, that company will be successful. So I would say right team and proper guidance, right guidance when it's actually needed.
So what's the potential reward from this?
Well, reward by achieving what we have started is the feeling. When it feels really good. I have done not exactly at the same level some other ventures, but smaller. It feels good once something we started and finished the way we expected, or it's better. Also, the financial benefit is there. So money doesn't get us everything, but certainly it helps you to have a better lifestyle. But the feeling is more important, I guess.
And what sets it apart from this very crowded space of crowdfunding and investment platforms? How is it different?
As I mentioned, I mean, I have not seen any platform offering the services that I mentioned. So not to mention, one of the major difference, which I mentioned on our deck as well as the website, is the global presence and cutting edge technology with human touch. What that means is we are collaborating with major banks, existing sale brokerage firms, and providing a network of existing investors who are investing in various industries. So rather than just relying on the social media marketing and targeting only those clients or investors and the ones who are using computers or social media who are comfortable investing online, there are so many other investors who like to speak with someone or like to meet someone in a coffee shop or a bar, have a conversation, even though there's nothing to be promised because everything is on the platform. Still, they feel comfortable talking to someone. So we really plan to have our approach in major economies, their towns and cities, so that we have access to the local investors as well. They could support their local economies or international startups or existing companies.
So what advice would you give to someone entering this space?
Well, I mean, this space is with the help of technology, and there are so many tools available. So this space is getting crowded, given that it's crowdfunding. But you have to bring something new that people, in terms of customers, so those could be investors or issuers, you have to bring something that will add value for long term. And not only that, we have to make sure that we are following the regulations in each country. So that's a major part is in the financial industry or fintech industry, AML, KYC, and keeping the regulators happy. So it's not easy to run business globally in any country, let's say US or alone or Canada, US, it's easier, but working in international market in the fintech industry, especially crowdfunding, there's a lot. So just come for there's a lot more extra expense, delays, dealing with the regulators internationally and building trust with them, giving them the confidence. So be ready for the hustle.
So what online information source do you find most helpful in your work?
Well, there's so much information available. We just have to find what I need. I mean, thanks to the technology in this network world, somehow there's too much of information available already, and we're worried about the future, how much information will be there, and it won't be easy to find the right information. So out of so much of the information. So what I will say is sticking to the stats which are available. Those are not only helpful resources. It's more about real life comparison, how the other companies are doing, for example, and learning with your own practical experience along with the resources available on the internet or through your personal connections. It's important to have personal experience. So I'm a practical person. I like to use or do the real life practical before I recommend or suggest anyone anything. So I've been working on this for 2 years and I have learned, I have made some mistakes. We have improved and we are just ready to start, hopefully in a week or two.
Great. So what does the future hold for Roots Funding? Are there any upcoming features, expansions, or partnerships that our listeners should be excited about?
Well, what I would say in open words, existing crowdfunding, when I compare with the US, UK, or rest of the Europe, all platforms are offering same product, and it's just raising money or investing money or maybe, a little bit of marketing. What we are bringing on the table is like 5 to 6 different services, which maybe one service is offered, but not the other 5 services by any of the companies out there. So that kind of makes us unique in the market. And with the help of AI and blockchain and other tools that we actually built in-house, for example, sales management tool, and none of the funding platform out there uses. So what I have learned in my banking experience in the retail, corporate, and the wealth management side, I have built those tools within our technology already that will help us do the proper marketing, manage the sales, and to help us collaborate and partner with other major banks and companies which we already are in talks with. And I'm glad to see the response from so many big companies that actually we are already in talk and ready to sign contracts.
Well, in the last few minutes that we have here today, what else should we cover that we haven't?
What I'd say is I would like to share the real life experience that, when we started only in Canada, we thought we only going to start working and using this platform in Canada. Once we are licensed here, then we'll start approaching US, UK, Switzerland, or rest of the Europe and the rest of the world. But that plan changed once we noticed that there are huge opportunities in Europe and the rest of the world. I mean, US and Canada are way more in advance compared to crowdfunding and such services offered by major banks. But we thought of filling that space and grabbing that opportunity. So looking to, for example, angel investors, they could create groups of angel investors come themselves locally in each country or internationally, or banks can create their own groups and they can share the deals among them. There are so many, like I work for RBC Wealth Management. So there is a company called RBCX, which is the venture side. So they also started working on startups that I was talking to their executives. Barclays out of London have over 2,000 company startups that they're working with. So that sort of we are already in touch with, how to work with them and all that. So, you know what? It's amazing that when you're bringing something unique and new, and how we can build a new financial ecosystem by bringing all the financial segments or institutions together so they can work together on the projects or the companies they might like. It's fascinating that it's more like, comparing trading. I would call the existing crowdfunding more like a traditional crowdfunding. What we are bringing on the table is a hybrid crowdfunding not with only the regular investors, but with all the financial institutions, high net worth, and corporations as well. So there's so much more to bring, and we have most of the technology ready. The rest of the technology we will be building later this year. And by the end of this year, we should accomplish what I mentioned. But certainly there's, I will say 3 to 4 big banks who are already talking to us out of Europe and Canada. So US is another space. We have not applied for the license yet, but it should not we from March onwards, we focus on US market and start growing. And certainly we are looking for some partners who could lead our company and give us a hand. We can grow together and faster globally, I would say.
Great. So how best for listeners to get back in touch with you?
Certainly investors I have provided my contact information, and of course, my email address is m.judge@rootsfundme.com, or you can find me on LinkedIn, Malkiat Judge, or Google. You will find my contact information. So, you know what? I would love to explain more if anybody has more questions or would like to dig in more detail.
Great. Well, we'll include those in the show notes. I want to thank you for joining us today and hope to have you back for a follow-up soon.
Thank you so much, Hal. Really appreciate your time, and it's glad to be here.
Investor Connect helps investors interested in startup funding. In this podcast series, experienced investors share their experience and advice. You can learn more at investorconnect.org. Paul T. Martin is the director of Investor Connect, which is a 501c3 nonprofit dedicated to the education of investors for early-stage funding. All opinions expressed by Hall and podcast guests are solely their own opinions and do not reflect the opinion of Investor Connect. This podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be relied upon as a basis for investment decisions.